Welcome everyone, you are listening to Red Ice Creations Radio. This is Henrik Palmgren, recording from the west coast of Sweden. Thought-provoking and mind-opening internet radio, available worldwide at redicecreations.com. You are in for a real treat today because we have Michael Tsarion back with us on the program, and we are proud to announce that we'll be featuring Michael as a regular guest on the third Thursday of each month on Red Ice Creations Radio. And today we have the outsider and the guilt complex as our overarching theme. But before we get to Michael, I'd just like to say thanks to Ted Tweetmeyer for speaking with us last week about some of the anomalies on Mars. And if you missed that show or any other of our previous programs, just go back into our archive and listen for free. We also have a subscriber section, a growing archive for all of you out there who want to hear more and dig deeper into some of these topics. This is also really the best way that you can support this website and the radio program. So we do need your help and support to keep going. Now let's get to today's program. Today we have Michael Tsarion with us on the line, and we are going to begin with program 1 of what I guess could be called our second series with Michael Tsarion. And we're proud to have him back with us on the show, now as a regular on Red Ice Creations Radio. And today's program is entitled The Outsider and the Guilt Complex. And I love the dedication Michael put into these programs, and I'm very proud to be a conduit in this circuit that relays this information to you. So welcome back to the program, Michael, and thank you for joining us again.
Thank you, Henrik. It's lovely to be back, and certainly did enjoy the previous 6-7 shows that we did. They were so intense, but also, again, this, as you say, this information is really, applicable and practical and important for our age, and I'd be sitting here in the dark, if we didn't have people like yourself to really believe in it and to help get it across. So, those were great shows, and I've had, I don't know if you know this, but I've had an overwhelming response from all parts of the world on specifically those shows, because as you know, I do a lot of shows, and yet the Red Ice series that we did have been just of great interest to a wider demographic, people from all age groups. Just received a email from a lady, 63 years of age, has a completely new appreciation of music, a totally new appreciation of relationships, going on and on and on, telling me all about the incredible changes in her life, about the way she sees, her own children in a different light. This is a typical kind of email that I'm getting, and she specifically mentioned the Red Ice series. So, again, I'm seeing the practical results, the feedback coming in, and it's just wonderful.
Yeah, it's wonderful, absolutely, and we have had a lot of good, positive feedback here also, and a lot of people are excited to have you back on the program, Michael, and to kick things off here today. Speaking of Hillary, I recently did an interview with a lady regarding the goddess, and we got into this very briefly, of course, but finally we see Hillary Clinton move into the political center stage, and just as you have predicted, she is getting ready for 2008, right?
That's right. This was a pretty easy prediction, really. I mean, if one has ever tracked in the alternative movement, we are very, very conscious of the way that the Clintons in particular have been groomed from way back. This is at the time of the Round Table, and so G. Edward Griffin and Bo Greitz and Eustace Mullins and anyone who's written seriously on this subject has always been tracking the progress of the Clintons. They're not just a little small, American family from Arkansas, who just decided one day to run for office. These are political lieutenants of the massive and important Fabian Society of England. So people have known decades ago. My prediction was just a re-echo of what many, many people have said. Even Daniel Hopsicker, in his videos has covered the Clinton scandals down in Arkansas on a local level down there. So there's people even in the local area who are hot on the trail of these arch criminals. So, but of course this is a big Masonic Fabian game. So yes, they do have these people on the board, and it's just a matter of time when they move them closer in. And I would very much encourage people to start getting into the concept of the goddess, to understand how these elite forces do make use of occult principles. Not that occult principles themselves are negative, or that there's anything negative about goddess worship.
Yeah.
It's just that this is, again, part of the toolbox that's used on the human mind by these elites themselves that manipulate this kind of information. And so we have to understand how they work. We have to understand how Jordan Maxwell has said many times that these people operate on sovereignty law, on maritime law.
Yeah.
And maritime is British Admiralty law, which is the law of the oceans. And so just like a ship is born when the men may construct the ship and the men may bring it to the dock, but when the bottle of champagne is broken and the ship is actually launched, it is launched on the waters, and the waters is always the symbol of the goddess or the female.
Yeah.
The same reason why you have a Statue of Liberty is female in Ellis Island. So the New World Order is their latest ship. And we can say that men may have been, instrumental. They may have been the goblins and the elves hammering away to create that edifice.
Yeah.
But when it is finally launched and properly initiated into the world, it is often on the waters of the female. And therefore, this was what David has talked about with Seramis, David Icke, has re-echoed the idea that Jordan has spoken about for years about the concept of Seramis and the Babylonian goddess cult. And also my understanding that the female is the birther, the true birther, the symbol in symbolism anyway, let's say, is the birther of the New World Order. So though she may smile and though people may just, dribble all over themselves thinking, fantastic, let's have a female president of America, on a symbolic level, you're dealing with something very, very arcane and very deadly, because this will actually signal then the absolute birth of the New World Order throughout the world.
Very interesting. And, I recently did an interview with a gentleman called Florin Diaco, and he has written a book called The Lost Millennium, and he based a lot of his research, allegedly, on this Russian scientist, Anatoly Fomenko, and on chronology and history and so forth. And what's your take on that? Have you heard about that?
Oh, yeah. Been following that from day one. It's very interesting. And they themselves are also echoing earlier chronologists. They're not the only ones who have come up with this, as they're trying to say. I mean, obviously they need to market their materials, so it's better to say that they came up with all of these ideas.
Yeah.
But, even Immanuel Velikovsky before them, and Commons Beaumont, the great English maverick, and there have been many, many other geniuses in this field who have doubted the past history. Without getting into all the details of Fomenko's work, maybe we can do a show in the future on it. All I'd just like to say is that I welcome this kind of work because at the very basic level, it is questioning the authenticity of official school-generated history. And that is what I do in my work, is controversially against the official paradigms. And here's a man from the inside. Here's a man and a whole team of Russian scientists from the within. I mean, you can't get further up the academic totem pole than these people. And they're questioning some of the most, strongly held belief systems. And I can say one thing in particular that they do. People get onto YouTube and put in the word Fomenko and go and look at their own introductions. But the interesting thing, of course, for my work, especially with the Irish origins of civilization, is that Fomenko and these people are talking about that priests edited history. That a class of priests within the Judeo-Christian paradigm literally sat down and concocted, fabricated, and edited the history of the last 1,000 years. And in their book, even came up with the age of the Dark Age, which probably didn't even exist. So just from that point along, I go, stop right there, and let's just focus on this. That here are people at the top of the academic totem pole letting you know just how pernicious and vile and duplicitous and treacherous and hypocritical, and deceitful are people within the church that's meant to be the bastion of purity and nobility and honesty and saving mankind. And here they are exposed on the deepest level as being people who scribbled down and lied about chronology, lied about history. And it wasn't just that they were, mathematical numbskulls who just happened to read the planets and the chronology wrongly because they were, backward. There's nothing backward about these people at all. They were very sophisticated, many of them. They were sophisticated enough to put the great astronomers into dungeons. So don't tell me that the people that they're putting into the dungeons, and the people that they're murdering, like Giordano Bruno, that they don't know what these people are talking about. Of course they knew. It's not just a matter of ignorance. If it was ignorance, they wouldn't be seizing the men who had the knowledge about chronology and astrology and then putting them in dungeons, would they?
Exactly.
You see, so it was based on knowledge. It was based on that they were hiding knowledge in order to mess with, and I want people to really listen to this, they were skewing history. They've already skewed history. Many of our previous shows, you and I, have talked about the pre-Diluvian age and the age of Atlantis.
Yeah.
Well, that's only coming to light now that they've hidden whole civilizations from us. They've lied about ice ages. They've lied about Atlantis. And you can bet your bottom dollar that they've lied about the Irish origins of civilization.
Sure.
And so Fomenko's work, you see, is fundamental to this, to prove that there was such treachery on such a massive worldwide level. Assists the work of people like myself who normally would not be listened to.
So, yeah, and just a side note there, I mean, does this change in any way where we kind of end up in regards to time, I guess, also in regards to, cosmic time, in regards to, the age of Aquarius and all this stuff? Does that affect that?
They knew they could change the calendar, and they did. The Gregorian calendar, they messed with the calendar, they messed with the agricultural year, but they knew it would be much harder to mess with the zodiac. My work goes into also how they did mess with the zodiac. But they knew that would be harder because there's peoples outside of their own power circumference that also had the same zodiac. So, you couldn't really control that because there was too many people outside your power who believed in the zodiac.
Yeah.
But, they were able to make fundamental changes, and they were able to make sure that people would be artificially kept in a state of ignorance so that even though they couldn't, if you're in ignorance, then you can't read the information even if it's there, right?
Yeah, sure.
I mean, the Bibles in the early churches were chained to the altars so that when anybody went and said, let me see that the priest is saying the right thing, let me study the Bible, they wouldn't let you do it. So the truth can be in front of you, but if you're ignorant, your hands don't move. It's like having a plate of food in front of you, but you're not hungry. And then if you're hungry, but there's no food, well, then still your hands don't move. So that, they do it in multiple ways. And the best way that they understood was not, yes, you can sequester knowledge, but then you'll always have elites even within your own system who might want to broadcast that knowledge. So hiding knowledge is only one of the weapons that they use.
Yeah.
They thought a better weapon is just to dumb down the entire world and keep them dumbed down for centuries. Then you can have the knowledge right in front of them. You can have the stars above their head. You can have teachers in front of them in their own villages and towns who might be printing and speaking the truth. But the people are ignorant, so forget it. It's like a man talking to pigs in a farmyard.
Yeah.
About the mysteries of the world.
Yeah, of life. Yeah.
It's like the whole concept of the watch that floats up on the beach on a desert island, and the pygmies don't know what it is. Well, this is the situation of the world.
Yeah.
And I've already said that the coming of Pluto, and look where we are right now. We're already in that age, into Capricorn right now, just today, in fact. Which is 12/21. Let's point out the beauty and majesty of that day.
Yeah.
Today we're doing our interview on the solstice, first day of the solstice.
Exactly.
Pluto is, getting stronger and stronger in the air, which represents inner archetypes, inner revelation in this age of revealing. And here we have Fomenko turning up. And here we have 101 other revelations. People are sending me all the time emails and news articles about new revelations that deal with DNA and new revelations about the past and new revelations about new pyramids that are being discovered.
Yeah.
And here's, Fomenko doing his work, Anatoly Fomenko.
Yeah.
So it goes, so it's not just the small predictions I've made about Clinton and this kind of thing. We're talking about a massive age of revealing here, revelations in the next 5 years that go to the heart of who we are as people and what our history is and what our whole origins are. And all we ask of people is that they're open-minded enough to make use of this incredible new awakening, this new aperture that's opening so that knowledge will be put in front of you. Well, for goodness sake, then, don't cling on to the past prejudices. Let the human race be open and willing, and you've cried long enough, and your forefathers have suffered long enough to wait for the time when the great meaning and the great secrets of why we live the lives we do would be handed down. Well, I'm here to tell you this is the very time right now that those answers are going to be put in front of you. And we as children of our forefathers need to be taking notes about this and listening up to the people who are mentioning what has happened on this planet. This is the time to have all ears pricked to know and to hear what is going on.